So, Demetrius Andrade defeats Jack Culcay on a 12-round split decision to capture the WBA regular super welterweight or junior middleweight world title over in Germany. Now, first of all, I have to say this was not the most impressive performance from Demetrius Andrade. We've seen him look a lot better on other occasions. He has been out the ring for 9 months, so I think that showed. There was ring rust there. Also, the fact that he was fighting away from home in Germany affected his performance, I believe, because he was anxious about getting a fair decision. And because of that, I think he tried maybe a bit too hard, particularly early in the fight. He was really going for it as if he wanted to try and get the knockout and not leave it to the judges. And that did kind of backfire on him slightly in the second half of the fight, where Culcay seemed to have more gas in the tank and was able to press the action and win some rounds in there. So, yeah, I think the inactivity played a part. I think fighting away from home threw off his strategy a little bit. And, it was a workmanlike performance from Demetrius Andrade, but not a particularly impressive performance. Then again, Culcay's only lost one previous to this, and that was in a split decision, so we can't be too harsh on Andrade. You're only as good as your last fight at the end of the day. Against Willie Nelson in 2016, Andrade looked much better, and as he did in fights before that. So you can get the win this time and worry about looking good next time, and I'm sure that'll be Andrade's attitude towards it. But some may look at this and say, actually, there's a blueprint here. Culcay has laid down a blueprint of how to beat Andrade. Now, before I go into that, I have to say the scores I thought were a little tight. I did feel like Andrade won the fight by at least 2-3 rounds. It was competitive, though, and Culcay did give him issues. So to talk about some of the issues he gave him, Culcay is almost a typical German fighter in a sense that he's not really a volume guy, and he will keep a high guard and fight in bursts, particularly after you've thrown a few shots. He'll keep a very tight defense, get close in on you, and then let his hands go, kind of like an Arthur Abraham type fighter. So that's, the typical German style, and it was effective here because Andrade, having the longer arms and being a lot more loose, was a little vulnerable at close range when Culcay started letting his shots go. And Culcay, he was allowing Andrade to dictate the pace a lot of the time and seemingly throw and land a lot more punches, but his flurries were eye-catching because they made Andrade look kind of clumsy and vulnerable. He was never really hurt in a fight or anything like that, but the way Culcay structured his attacks and timed his attacks were eye-catching. So I can see how he won rounds on the judges' cards. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with all the rounds that they had him winning, but I can see how he won the rounds. And interestingly enough, Andrade actually turned orthodox late on in this fight, and I actually felt like his jab was more effective from the orthodox stance. Perhaps that's because he's a natural left-hander, as a true southpaw. I believe he's a natural left-hander anyway. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I believe he is. If he is, then that would explain why his jab was a lot stiffer from the orthodox stance, because he was really banging out the left jab hard, and I thought that it actually threw Culcay off and allowed Demetrius Andrade some breathing space when he was fighting out of the orthodox stance. So I think that was actually, for once, a good tactical move by Demetrius Andrade. And when I say for once, because most fighters, when they switch stance, it's just out of desperation. There are a few fighters out there who can switch and be effective with it because they're that highly skilled. People like James DeGale and Tyson Fury, Terence Crawford, so on and so forth. But most fighters, when they switch, it's just out of desperation, and it normally doesn't produce very good results. But here, with Andrade against Culcay, I felt like it did. Yeah, he was actually having decent success with that left jab from the orthodox stance. So, yeah, I think that was a good adjustment that he made, and he went on and managed to get a close split decision nod over Culcay in Germany. So, as I say, workmanlike performance from Demetrius Andrade. He can worry about looking good next time. I've seen him look better than that in many, many fights. And I think when he's back home in the United States, he'll feel a lot more relaxed next time he performs. But if anybody tries to replicate the Cult Kai game plan, they might actually have success against Demetrius Andrade. It's a low volume game plan, and it's a game plan which is a gamble on the scorecards because you can easily get outworked by a guy with such long arms as Andrade. But it may be worth it. Maybe if you're a fighter with limited ability, then that's the best way to go about it. To just cover up, get close to him, and go for quality over quantity, you know. You could go for quantity, but Demetrius Andrade can fight on the inside himself, you know. The more you throw, obviously, the more vulnerable you're going to leave yourself. So it is a gamble. Anyway, let me stop waffling here, people. Let me know what you thought about Andrade's performance. Has he gone down in your estimations because of his performance? I know a lot of people felt disappointed by it, but I think there are mitigating circumstances, you know, fighting in Germany, trying too hard maybe because he was worried about the judges, being out the ring for 9 months, so on and so forth. Every fighter, and I'm not saying Andrade's going to go on to be a great fighter, but every great fighter has poor performances. You look through the career of Muhammad Ali, he had poor performances against people he was supposed to dominate. It happens. You know, it's not that shocking for a guy to have a poor performance, and this was one of Andrade's. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. It's happening. I'm out.